class. We're going to talk briefly about single system research designs. Single system research designs is a group of research methods that are used extensively in the experimental analysis of behavior and applied behavior analysis with both human and non-human subjects. There are various variations of single subject research designs that we're going to discuss, and we're also going to discuss the notations and general principles of single subject research designs, because that will definitely help you to understand each specific design. Okay, so when it comes to accessing measures over time, there are 4 variations. The first variation is without any intervention. And so you will perform repeated assessments without any intervention. No intervention, no medication, no individual therapy, no treatment is provided. You are gathering information, baseline information, without any type of treatment. With Number 2, at the same time, you gather information, and so repeated assessments are conducted at the same time intervention starts. And so if a client is getting individual therapy, you begin gathering that data as soon as you start that individual therapy with the client. The third one is before intervention is begun. And so repeated assessments are taken before any intervention starts. And so before you provide any individual therapy, medication, whatever the treatment is, you gather information before you do any of that. You gather that assessment data. And then the final variation is before and after intervention. And that just happens just as it sounds. You gather assessment intervention or assessment data before the intervention, and you gather assessment data after the intervention. And so if the intervention or the treatment is medication, you will gather assessment data before you start prescribing the medication or before the doctor starts prescribing the medication to the client. And then you would gather assessment data after the medication has been withdrawn from the client. Some ethical issues with that, but that's what the variation before and after intervention means. The notation and general principles of single system research designs. And so you'll oftentimes see single subject research designs identified with these variations down below here: AB, ABA, ABAB, BAB, ABC, and so forth. The basic notation and principles are A, B, and C. And so you can see these in any combination. But A, as long as you understand that whenever you see the general principle or the notation A, this pretty much refers to the baseline phase. And so the baseline phase is no intervention, no treatment, nothing is being done with the client but gathering information. And so you're trying to see, how is the client doing? What's the client's status like before I start giving this intervention, before I start providing this medication, or before I start providing this individual therapy. And then when you see B, B is the design phase. And so you're gathering data while the intervention is being implemented. And so unlike A, where there's no intervention, B is, let's just say that the intervention is individual therapy. And so you start providing individual therapy with the client, and you're gathering data. How's the client doing with this intervention, with this individual therapy? And then C is an additional phase or an additional intervention or an additional treatment. All the same: phase, intervention, and treatment. C is an additional. And so it indicates a different intervention than B. It would never be the same as B. And so the example before was B was individual therapy. So let's just say C is medication. And so individual therapy has been provided, and then along comes C, and you started giving the client some medication. And so that would be an ABC design. A, you gather the baseline, no intervention. Then B, for a period of time, you start doing some individual therapy. And then C, you want to compare how the client is doing with the medication in addition to the individual therapy. And so C, you add an additional phase, which would be C, that general principle. So those are the general principles of single subject research designs. And again, you can see these in any variation. The most common single subject research designs you'll see is AB design or a multiple baseline design. And so multiple baseline design is just pretty much different periods where you gather baseline information without any treatment. So when do you use single subject research designs? Single subject research designs is used when you are examining the effects of an intervention on an individual. And so how does providing individual therapy, that's your intervention, affect this individual? Is the client getting better, staying the same, or getting worse? And so you're trying to determine how useful was the intervention. That's the purpose of the single subject research design. Or that's when you use that single subject research design. And in conclusion, single subject research designs are important in evaluative research. And that's what this whole class is about, evaluative research. And so single subject research designs, when we're conducting those, it's a pretty important part of the evaluation research, because it helps us to determine how effective an intervention is, like how effective is this individual therapy, or how effective the individual therapy is not. And so the single subject research designs helps us to determine whether or not the interventions or the services that we are providing our clients, if they are helping our clients to get better. Again, there are various single subject research designs, so keep in mind that the combination of the ABC can be used. It just kind of depends on what type of information that you're trying to gather from the services that you're providing along with your clients when determining what's the best design to use. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. All of this information comes from your 2 books for the class, and so you can use these textbooks to gather more information, and we will be talking about single system research designs throughout the class. Again, send me an email if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.